Who is your daddy? I am your father.
You fathers will understand.
My father taught me many things.
I got an idea. How about you all sit there quietly while I make dad noises?
Welcome to episode 25 of Fathers of the Grind. As always, my name is Tim Nestor, and my co-host, who's better than me at everything, I've been told, Derek Teague is here. Derek, how's it going?
Welcome, Derek. Welcome. Glad to have you here, Derek.
In case you guys are wondering, it's actually Derek who usually reminds me that he's better than I am at everything, so that's where I get that from.
Well, finally, it's been indoctrinated in your head, so you understand truth. Gospel.
Yeah, I signed my work emails that way too. Like, not as good as Derek, Tim.
Sincerely, not as good as Derek.
All right, so last time we didn't really talk about this, so let's go ahead and share a little bit what we've been playing. So tell me one or two games that you've been playing over the last week or so.
Well, last weekend they had last week actually they had an amazing sale on PlayStation. They had the E3 sale. So I picked up Shadows of Mordor, Game of the Year edition, and
what is the DLC for that?
There's a couple, I think, like little, like, I don't want to say expansion. I guess it expands the game, like expansions or storylines.
Okay.
Off of what you play in the main campaign. I didn't play those yet. But you also get, I think you get like 4 or 5 epic runes to start the game. So that really helps. Like, obviously it helped me already knowing how to play the game since I beat it before. My second playthrough has been so much smoother. Like, I've died way less times. But the epic runes definitely helped out in that. But I played, I think last Sunday on Father's Day, I played for like 7 hours straight. Absolutely enjoyed it. I even started thinking about, man, I could probably go for the platinum because I'm not dying a lot. I'm enjoying the game again. But then there's this thing called new releases and all the bull crap. So I actually switched over to, and the reason I did this is I switched over to Zelda Twilight Princess High Def. And the reason why, and some of the listeners will know because they were aware of what I was about ready to do, I had actually gone on GameStop.com and was like pricing trade-ins, and all my Nintendo games were like anywhere from 30 to, for Fire Emblem, the double game that I have, was like $60 trade-in value.
Yeah, those Nintendo games historically lose value much slower than other developers.
And they were doing a special like 50% bonus, so when I did the pricing originally, Twilight Princess was $40, and I was like, I'm not really playing it. I only got 3 hours in it. Why not sell it now and then buy it back later when it's cheaper? Because it'll go on sale. In fact, it was just on sale at Best Buy because my brother bought it for $32.
So would you sell the figurine with it if you were to sell it back?
No, I would have just sold the game. And so before I did that, usually what I do if I'm on like the edge with a game is I'll just like start to play it and see if I have any interest in playing it or if I want to just go ahead and do what I said, trade it in. And I kind of got hooked again. I played 4 hours of that. So I'm about 7 hours into it. I finished the first dungeon. I think it's Forest Woods. Oh, yeah. And I've gotten everything that I need before I got to go to the second area or second main area / dungeon. So I'm about ready to do that. But, and this is my last game, I've been distracted, and I've been majorly distracted, because I had a lazy day today. We had no sports, nothing. My wife was in her room cleaning while watching Game of Thrones, which frees me up, because we got rid of 2 out of my 3 kids. I got rid of the 2 bad ones, let me put it that way. The 2 that cause problems that are really loud.
Guys, this is Parenting Advice Corner.
Oh, yeah.
Uncle Derek.
None of that PC parenting for me where all of them are equal. No, these 2...
Yeah, chapter 1 of his book is Pick Your Favorite.
Yeah. These 2, while I probably love them, I just adore them, they drive me nuts. And so I actually got rid of them, and the one that stayed behind, Ian, he's really easy to deal with. Like, he's just laid back, chill. He'll play on his iPad, or like tonight before we recorded, him and I watched U.S. soccer lose yet again, and then he fell asleep. But anyways, the game that distracted me is on Friday, Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp is what they're calling it, FE, which is Fire Emblem, came out. Now, this is a game that was announced probably 2 or 3 years ago, and it was supposed to be Shin Megami, is how they say it? Shin Megami?
Yeah, Shin Megami Tensei, yeah.
Cross Fire Emblem game. And it is, but they kind of changed it all up. I mean, even you can tell by the name, it's called Tokyo Mirage Sessions, and you're not playing any characters from, as far as I know, and I'm not big on Shin Megami, I haven't played anybody from Shin Megami. These are all new characters, but they're linked to Fire Emblem, and maybe they are linked to Shin Megami characters too. Maybe that's what it is. But they're linked in some way, and I won't go into it, but if you play it, it is outstanding. Like, I'm actually shocked how much I love this game, and I know
it was not on my radar.
Exactly.
Whatsoever.
I know a lot of people are like, well, Derek gets excited about everything. It is true. I do. If it's a decent game, I freak out, and I'm like, game of the year. This game, I thought, okay, I'll buy it. I'll give it a shot because it was something I was excited about because I do love Fire Emblem. But I figured it'd be kind of like Fire Emblem, where I would play like 10 to 20 hours and get burnt out and be like, I'm done with it. I'm not saying that won't happen, but right now I'm already in 2 days, 10 hours in.
Whoa, nice.
Yeah, I'm hooked. Like, I just want to keep playing. So I'm really, really enjoying it. The gameplay is probably some of the best JRPG gameplay I've ever played. It's turn-based. There's a lot of linking in your attacks and all that. So I'm really, really enjoying it. And it's pretty cool when you, like, upgrade, or no, when you level up, it gives you that little music note from Fire Emblem, so let you know that you've leveled up. So it's got that nice little
I love that sound.
Nostalgia touch to it. But it's just, right now, the story's semi-interesting, but I wouldn't say I'm like, it's good enough to keep me going to want to know what's going on, but I wouldn't say, it's kind of that classic JRPG cheese right now. It might go deeper and darker. But just outstanding game. I love it. And I said this in a post earlier, if you own a Wii U and you like RPGs at all, give this one a shot. It looks crazy, it looks stupid, it looks like something I wouldn't personally buy. In fact, if it had nothing to do with Fire Emblem, I wouldn't have bought it. But I am so glad I bought it.
Yeah, that's a big if, though, if you own a Wii U. And I do think when the inevitable price drop for that system comes, it better be this year, otherwise Nintendo is insane. But when that price drop comes, I'm probably going to guess it's $199, but if they happen to drop it any lower than that, then I will be in that camp of owning a Wii U, and that's one that
Nintendo's so slow, I wouldn't be shocked if it just dropped to $250 and they give you a game like Mario Kart.
Isn't
like
it $250 now?
No, it's $300. My brother just bought one for $300 with Mario Kart 8.
Oh, Jamie, come on.
So I wouldn't be surprised. Well, I understand why he bought it. He got cash, so it's not like he got he paid actually $300. He got gift cash.
With cash.
Yeah,
right.
so people handed him cash.
I gotta become better friends with him.
Yeah.
All right. So I've been really playing a lot of Rocket League again this week. I haven't had a ton of time to game each evening, mainly because, and this is a good thing, my wife and I have been spending a lot of time watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on Netflix. We've been binging through that show. And I know it's met with some kind of meh type responses from most people, but we're actually really enjoying it, and it's something that happens to hit an interest of both of ours. So we like that show a lot.
How far are you into it?
About halfway through season 1.
I was going to say, it's season 1 that gets knocked. I've only heard nothing but good things about season 2 and 3.
Yeah.
I got about...
And we can see why it got knocked. It is a little cheesy at times. The characters, the actors even, and the writing, they're still trying to find themselves. But as we're getting towards the middle part of season 1 here, it's really hitting a nice groove. Yeah,
I got like 14 or 15 episodes in.
So we're liking that a lot. But when I do have time to play, by the time we finish that, I'm usually pretty zonked, and I'm ready to fall asleep. And so when I do fire up a game, it's going to be Rocket League, possibly, or this game on the phone. That's right, on the phone, called Game Dev Story that I've been playing. There's not a lot of mobile games that I think are great. There's really not. There's a few games that I think are decent, like Doctor's Waiting Room, time wasters, if you have nothing else to do.
I don't think Snobby Tim likes mobile games, but I do think the guy that's living in Colorado right now, Casual Tim,
Yeah.
I think that's all he plays is mobile
casual
games.
pot smoking Tim. People keep telling me. So, yeah. No, Snobby Tim heard mobile and just ran away throwing up. But anyway, no. Game Dev Story is one of those very few mobile games, other than the ports. There's ports of some major games that I've heard are decent, but it's one of the few mobile games that has kind of hooked me, and it really is good. It's by a studio called Kairosoft, and I've heard in our group people mentioning some other games they've done that are pretty good. But I'm not the only one, and I feel reaffirmed. I feel vindicated in my thoughts here because others have said, no, it is fun. It's addicting. I'm probably about at the end of it now, so it's my interest in it is starting to wane. But it definitely kept me busy for a good 30 minutes to an hour most nights as I was, falling asleep. So it's not bad. It's kind of a Sims-esque game where you're controlling a game dev studio, working your way up the ranks there. So it's fun. So anyway, let's see what else. Oh, my kids and I have been messing around on Goat Simulator, which was free with Xbox Live. I think it's still free if you haven't grabbed it yet.
Yeah, I saw it today.
What a silly game, but I can see why it was so popular. Again, it's just that pure silliness. They've got lots of mods you can add. They've got some DLC, which I didn't bother to buy, but there's a crazy amount of things you can do with
So the
that
mods
game.
are on Xbox One, not just PC.
Yeah, as far as I can tell. I mean, there's some built-in ones at least that are there.
Okay.
So it's pretty fun. It's most fun when I've only got 2 controllers for the Xbox One, so you can play 2 players at once, at least on ours.
You can
And
have
we'll
two
just
goats.
pass the controllers around, and each kid gets to control a goat for a little while, and it's just one of those situations where it provides a lot of like laugh out loud moments as the kids are doing goofy stuff and listening to their voices and watching their faces as they try to experiment. Can this goat jump off this roof? How high can he go on this trampoline? What happens if I stick my tongue to this car as it's speeding around? Like just silly stuff. And so it's kind of fun. It's kind of silly. So that's what I've been playing. But I do have every intention of finishing Blood and Wine, and I actually am really hoping to get to Watch Dogs this summer. That's my summer game that I'd like to play through. So when Watch Dogs 2 is out, I'm ready. At least I want to try Watch Dogs. Maybe I won't finish it, but I want to give it several hours where I can really get a feel for what that game's all about.
Yeah, I think it's a fun game. I really, really liked Watch Dogs. I think for you, I think you should give it 5 to 6 hours. See if you
That's what I'm thinking,
like the
yeah.
story at all. If you don't, then I think because you like GTA 5, I can say even as a fan, somebody who likes Watch Dogs more than GTA 5, yes, I am that person.
Okay.
I can say that GTA 5 is a better game as far as gameplay and stuff like that. So if you're not into the story of Watch Dogs at all, then no, I wouldn't finish it. But
Okay.
give it a shot. And it sounds like with Watch Dogs 2, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but I'll say it almost sounds like and I haven't heard a lot about it because we talked about this I think last week, where if you're a sequel and I know I'm buying you, I just don't listen or pay attention.
We did talk about that, yeah.
But it almost feels like because of all the backlash they got for Watch Dogs, that Watch Dogs 2 doesn't feel like 2. It feels like almost a reboot of a series that only has one game in it.
Gotcha.
Like, hey, we totally screwed up, so let's just start completely over and do everything that all the GTA 5 whiners wanted. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, one thing we want to make sure we do before we forget, because we're going to get into games of the fall. We're going to talk about the 7th generation of consoles, which, by the way, is confusing. I'm just going based off of what Wikipedia and all of their sources call the 7th generation. I think it's a technical classification. A lot of people think of right now the gen we're in as being 6th gen, and then the next one with Scorpio and everything else could be the 7th. But again, just according to the sources that we're using, 7th gen means 360, PS3, Wii,
I was going to say,
and those systems. So
who cares what gen?
cares?
We'll be talking
Yeah.
about 360, PS3, and Wii.
Exactly.
Everybody knows what that is.
So we're going to get into that, and we're going to get probably way off the rails with that discussion. So before we do that, and we forget to do this, I want to make sure we draw a name from those who shared the show. So I've compiled a list of the people who have shared the show, and I have this app called MiniWebTool. So if you're curious what I'm using, it's miniwebtool.com, and it's just a random name picker. So I put all these names into this list, and then I'm going to click on pick a random name. Are you ready?
We're ready.
Can you give me a drum roll? Give me a drum roll. And the winner is Derek Teague. Wait, what?
Yes.
How did your name get in there?
Yes. Well,
I did
because
not put your name in here.
I deleted all your names out, and it's all you can draw is me.
Yeah, I had all these names, but now it just says Derek Teague for each name. That's
all right. Well,
ridiculous.
we did it fair and square. I'm sorry for all the people that shared. Who's
let's
not
make this
gonna
again.
win it? No, let's not. Derek wanted
do it
this
again.
game, and he wants to take this time to thank God and
Oh, my
Manuel
No.
for this opportunity to receive
That's a
this
pretty
free-
standard awards thank you, right? God and Manuel. Those are the two who usually get the... All right, here we go. I'm going to try again. I actually put your name in there as a joke, and it legitimately came up. That's fantastic.
That's awesome.
All right, so I'm removing your name despite the fact that you want that game, and you did share the show, and you did hashtag it. I don't know why I'm not including you. It just doesn't feel right to give it to you.
Oh, thanks, man. I mean,
I
I did
don't
want to
know
win it.
why. I don't know why. All right, here we go. Let's do it again. And all right, cool. I did a test one of this earlier to make sure it worked, and this is the same name that came up in the test. So fair is fair. Jose Jimenez, our good buddy who's shared the show.
Yeah.
We played some Rocket League with him last night. So Jose, congratulations. I hope
Congrats,
you're up
Jose.
for some Paragon gaming, and maybe look up Manuel if you're not already friends, and you guys could play some online there. So Jose, I'll be sending this to you either in an email or Facebook message. So congrats, and there you go. If anyone else wants to be a part of this, whether you want to contribute to some sort of contest or if you have a contest idea, feel free to send it our way. I like this idea of getting the community involved like this. And it doesn't always have to be to share the show. It could just be something, less markety to it. It could just be something for fun too. So
Yeah.
alrighty.
Let me just
on.
say before we transition, though, thank you for everybody who did share the show.
Yeah.
We got like 30-something requests on our Facebook
Yeah.
page, so it's growing. Hopefully that will equal a few more listeners, because while Tim and I do this for fun, we also do want to still get the show to grow, see what happens to it. So, but thank you for sharing it.
That's a good point. You actually reminded me of something. I wasn't necessarily planning on saying it in the show, but I might as well. If any of you out there are YouTube experts, or at least you are good at throwing together a video and are up for helping me out with keeping up with YouTube posts, I think I'm like 3 episodes behind now. Getting that YouTube video generated and posted regularly has been a struggle for me just in terms of my time and availability. So I could use some help in that arena. If any of you are interested in helping with that, send me a quick note, and I'd love to get some help in managing that YouTube page so we can keep up to date there too. All right, enough of that boring stuff. Let's talk about the good stuff. All right, so let's talk about this fall. Derek put together a list of some of the big games coming out this fall, and what we want to do is just talk about which ones we're most hyped for, which ones were, even though we might have multiple ones pre-ordered, which we do, which one are we most excited for? So let's just go down through this list a little bit.
Basically, just so people know, fall, that means I'm eliminating one of the big games, and I know I'm eliminating one of Tim's big games as well, because I'm starting fall basically September, late September.
So you're getting rid of No Man's Sky.
So I'm getting rid of No Man's Trash.
That's a summer. That's still a no. Oh my God, No Man's Trash.
No Man's Trash. And I'm getting rid of Deus Ex, which is going to be a phenomenal game. I'm going to enjoy that one. But
I like how you already know that. You already know it's going to be great.
Oh, yeah. Did you play Deus Ex, Human Revolution or whatever?
Nope, I have it. It's on my, because it was free, right, for
Gosh.
Games with Gold, but I have it sitting there.
He's surrounded by
Maybe.
casuals. You know what? Though, let me say this. I get knocked because I play a lot of games and everybody's like, Derek never finished games. First of all, I finish a lot, but I'm noticing in conversations that a lot of people don't finish games that I would think they would have finished or played, and it kind of it baffles me. You got to play Deus Ex. Maybe that should be your summer game.
The Human Revolution, right? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, it's an awesome game.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about games coming this fall. Like you said, we're skipping Deus Ex, which is a big one. We're skipping No Man's Sky, which is another big one. They're both coming out, I think, in August. Am I right about that?
Yeah.
August.
So let me just read the names real quick.
start
We
in
just
September.
listed the big ones. I'm not going to obviously list every single game that comes out, and then Tim can share what's top of his list, and then I'll share. So starting in late September, September 30th, we got Final Fantasy 15. October 7th, we got Mafia 3.
Yeah.
October 11th, technically it's the 7th if you get the Ultimate Edition for Gears of War 4, which I plan to do. Battlefield 1 comes out October 21st. The Last Guardian is October 25th. We got an Elder Scrolls Skyrim remastered or special edition coming out October 28th. Titanfall 2, October 28th. Dishonored 2, November 11th. Yes, I left Call of Duty off because I don't care about that. Dishonored 2, November 11th. Gran Turismo, November 15th. Watch Dogs 2, November 15th. And South Park, we gotta say this, The Fractured Butt Hole, December 6th. So that's
All right,
the
you left
list
a
of
few
games.
out real quick before we go. I need to mention a few of these real quick. XCOM 2, I'm excited for that port to the consoles since it was just on PC. ReCore comes out, and I know that people are skeptical about that game.
That's
I'm
why
going to
I
hold
left it
out.
out.
I'm going to hold out this. I don't know why. I'm going to hold out hope that it's going to be a fun game. And this is not one that I'm going to get, but everyone is excited about Persona 5. I might get it eventually, but it's not a day one purchase for me. So
I
those
thought
are other
Persona
ones.
5 was 2017.
I thought it was September. Why do I have it on my list for September?
I think that's Japan. I think it's coming out in late 2016 in Japan, but it got pushed back
Oh,
to
February
2000.
14th, 2017. It's September for Japan. That's why.
Yep.
All right. I live in Japan.
Thank God Derek is on this podcast. He's intelligent.
Someone needs to be knowledgeable on here. All right. So go ahead and give me. I don't know if you want to just do one or maybe your most anticipated with your.
Well, I'll
you know,
start
honorable
off
mentions.
with I'll start off with the one because the question was pick
Give me
a
the one.
fall game
All right.
you are most excited for. Now,
Mhm.
obviously, we can have more that we're excited for, but out of all those games, I would have to say, and this was hard to actually pick, I would say Gears of War 4 is my most anticipated.
Now, was this before or after, or on both cases, the E3 presentation? Was it already your most anticipated, or did it become your most anticipated because of that demo that they showed?
I don't know if the demo really, I don't know. I'm a big Gears fan, but I think for me, I do like that I feel like it's going back to its roots. And I'm in a different place right now where I don't just play games for myself. For years, I'm talking for like the last 5 or 6 years that I've been gaming before I got involved with these groups of people that we hang out with online all the time. I played all the games by myself. I never went online and played with anybody.
Okay.
Before, except for like.
Oh, this is what you
7 or
mean by
8 years.
for myself. Okay, I thought you
Yeah,
were now
yeah.
saying that you play it on behalf of humanity, somehow helping people. I wasn't sure where you were going.
Well,
Okay.
I do play games for God and Manuel.
That needs to be our anthem.
For God
like our
and
battle
Manuel.
charge. For God and Manuel.
So, anyways, but what I was trying to say is the reason why Gears kind of like stepped up, because there's plenty of games that could easily replace it. Dishonored, well, whatever, I'll talk about it in a second. But Gears 4, the reason why is because I can play that game by myself and I can play it with others, and it's
All
co-op.
right, so tell me real quick, for someone who's never played Gears, and I've played some, so this doesn't qualify for me. I've played 1 and 2 limited amounts, but most of 1 actually. Tell me why someone who has never played Gears before would be up for this game, for Gears 4. What should they be looking forward to with this game?
I think this one's gonna be a reboot of the franchise as far as storytelling, because I would say, for me personally, I know some people would disagree, the weakest part of the Gears trilogy, forget Judgment, just the trilogy, was to me the storytelling and characters. I'm not saying all the characters were bad, but they were kind of like, I don't know, your typical musclehead idiots, you know?
And yet still kind of beloved, though. I mean, when they showed that character reveal at the end of the trailer, people were excited. So
Yeah. And,
even though the
like I
story
said,
may not
I
have been
still...
told in a great way, people do love the characters that were established there.
And there are some great characters. There was characters that generally made me laugh through all the games, and I enjoy playing with or partnering up with. So, like I said, I think it's the biggest weakness. I'm not saying it's terrible. I think for people that don't play Gears at all, they'll just say it's trash because that they don't know any better, and that's the number one thing that gets insulted. But what I was trying to say is Gears 4 to me is going to be like almost like a reboot. It's not only a new dev working on it, but it's going to a whole new generation of Gears. So they can kind of just start it fresh. And while they're still tying it to the previous trilogy, they still can do whatever they want. They're
So
not
then someone
tied
like me
to...
who has not played the entire trilogy, I haven't even played 3 at all, I could jump in and enjoy this one.
Oh, of course. And to answer your question, the number one reason why anybody would like it is I can't think of many... I don't know if I can actually think of any game who does third-person cover-based shooting better than Gears of War. As much as I like Uncharted and The Last of Us and all that, I would say The Last of Us is definitely stronger than Uncharted. But the biggest problem with Uncharted and games like The Last of Us would be the gameplay mechanics at time. Gears, to me, has none of those issues. It's airtight. There's no issues. There's no gameplay problems at all. Their problems is in the storytelling sometimes and character creation.
And maybe this time around they've got some, beefed up a little bit.
I'm putting a little bit of hope that Xbox and Microsoft and the coalition have grown up a little bit and said, hey, we realize we got something special already in the gameplay. There's not much we have to do. Maybe add some tweaks here and there. What we need to do is get this game back to its darker horror type roots, which was what Gears of 1 was. And that's what it looks like. That's what they're trying to do. So that in itself hypes me.
Nice.
And then I'll talk about the rest later on why.
Let me give you my number one pick. And this, thank you for filling this in for me. It helped. It always helps whoever's doing the notes. This week it was Derek. Getting our notes outlined together. And he went ahead and he already knew, because we've talked a lot, which game I'm most excited about. And my number one anticipated game for the fall of 2016 is Trash Garbage Trash.
Yeah, the mobile exclusive.
Cannot wait for Trash Garbage Trash.
Well, you know why that's so good is I couldn't believe Dirty Filthy Casual, the developer, was going to be able to release this
Dirty Filthy Casual
in fall of 2016. So Dirty Filthy Casual was able to create Trash Garbage
DFC
Trash.
Games.
And I'm just impressed.
So my actual most anticipated game for this fall, other than Trash Garbage Trash, it does look good. But other than that one is going to be Mafia 3, which looks stunning. I think we've talked about this already a little bit, but it looks so great. I am totally ready for that kind of era of gangster shooting and taking over territories and an open world with a solid through line story mission. I'm really excited for all of that. So Mafia 3 is one of my most anticipated. Just like the Assassin's Creed games and games like that, I kind of get lost in those worlds. I'm looking forward to this one, where I just know I can sit down and start the game up and then spend a few hours running missions, taking over areas, maybe doing some story if I want. I really like that, so very much looking forward to Mafia 3.
I am with you on that. In fact, when I wrote the notes, if you'll notice, I have an honorable mentions section for me. And the first game I wrote was Mafia 3 because I was torn. Is it Mafia 3 or is it Gears of War 4? And I think the only reason why I put Gears ahead of Mafia 3 is going back to what I said earlier, and that was I feel like where I am now and the fact that I can game by myself and I have a bunch of friends who are excited for Gears of War 4,
right.
I get both of those with Gears of War 4, whereas Mafia 3, I'm pretty sure I'm just going to play that by myself.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason why Gears actually edged Mafia, because I'm actually, when it comes to story and world and gameplay even, probably more excited about Mafia 3 and what it could be for me. Because I like what they're building right now. And I went back, because I didn't play Mafia or Mafia 2. I played some of Mafia 2, but I hadn't gone through the entire story. These games do a great job of having some type of twist in them, and they connect their stories, which I'm a fan of. I know we live in a day and age where, for instance, you got Final Fantasy 15 coming out. They're not connected with the other Final Fantasies as far as story and characters and
just
stuff
like every
that.
major Final Fantasy is not connected.
Yeah, and most games are doing that nowadays. They're like, well, we can't connect them, so we can keep making them and using the name over and over, and people won't get sick and tired of the characters. Mafia's doing a good job of bringing in new characters. Like, you're controlling somebody you've never controlled before. You didn't even know he existed. But they've still tied it with Mafia 2. And I'm not going to spoil it, but it's all in the...
I haven't played it.
Well, I'm not going to spoil Mafia 2.
Okay,
But,
I've heard 1 though, and 1 was great.
But basically, one of the guys that you team up with is from Mafia 2.
Oh, nice.
So it's
That's
really cool that they connect the games like that, and so I'm real excited to play that one. That one's definitely number 2, I guess, or a 1B for me.
Okay, well my
Is there
1B,
anything else for you?
My 1B would be, other than Trash Garbage Trash, I want to keep coming back to that.
That's a great
looks
game.
amazing. Yeah. So Mafia 3, but also a very different type of game, and I'm so glad they're coming out right around the same time because I don't have 2 very different, very hopefully quality games to play. But Mafia 3 and then Last Guardian. Now, there's been a lot of stories coming out, which we're not really going to cover in this conversation. I kind of want to wait till it actually does come out and we can experience it, and then we can talk about it. But there's been plenty of stories and articles being released right now about worries about everything from the story to the gameplay and the visuals. And we saw the trailer. It did not look up to par with a lot of the other trailers we were seeing. To be fair, it's a stylized art style.
I was gonna say, I don't think was ever supposed to look like
right,
God
and
of
I do
War.
think it's gonna have some beautiful moments. Now, whether that means it's as breathtaking as some of these other games that are coming out, or maybe it just means it's gonna be more about the relationship and the characters and Bird Dog or whatever. So it's gonna be interesting to see. I am still holding out hope because Shadows of the Colossus was one of my. It's definitely my top 10 of all time games, and it's one of my favorite games ever. So, holding out hope that Last Guardian delivers. So
I know the
that's
show is not technically out yet because we're recording it right now, but I just got a notification on Twitter from Crank Flark,
Oh,
who
good.
just hashtag "You are trash." Last Guardian is trash, garbage trash. So, I think he agrees with your pick because he's a big fan
I like to
of.
think that when and if Frank listens to this show and he hears me say trash, garbage, trash, in his mind he'll instantly translate that as, oh, he's excited for Last Guardian. He's just going to know what I mean by that. So
He's going to go create a DFC company right away. for
DFC
trash,
games.
Garbage, trash, yeah.
All right, give me if you have any other ones, give me another
I'll give
something
you
else you're excited about.
I'll give you the next 2 real fast so we can move on to 7th gen discussion. But I really got hyped up for Final Fantasy 15.
Me too. I'm excited for it.
And I still think I will. And I think they're doing something awesome. I believe, and I could be off on the date, and the fanboys will call me out. I think it's August 19th, 2 days after my birthday. They're releasing the movie. That I think it's coming out August 19th. They announced that.
That looks so cool. Those trailers look amazing. I'm excited for that
Yeah,
movie.
so I think when I watch that movie, if it's good, and I really liked what was it, Advent Children.
I did too. Yeah.
So if it's good like that, it's gonna even hype me more to the point where it'll probably surpass all these games.
Yeah.
But I really am excited for Final Fantasy 15.
No, that's a good pick.
Nervous.
I think 2 months ago, I listed that as my most anticipated, assuming that Horizon got moved back, and that was in the hype coming off of the Final Fantasy experience. And so it does remain near the top of my list. It's just that Mafia 3 and Last Guardian becoming a reality for this October, they've kind of shimmied their way in there.
Well, we've had a lot of announcements of games since that press conference.
But
like,
I don't disagree with that. Number 3 or maybe number 4 spot for me. I like that idea. Of that's kind of where I would place it too, I think. It looks like it's going to be amazing.
Yes, so that one's number 3 right now, and then Dishonored 2. I absolutely love the first one.
Had a good showing, I think, at E3 too.
Yeah, and again, I didn't watch much. Only thing I know about the game is there's two characters you can create, but you can control,
right.
And that you play with, and that's all I know, and that's all I need to know.
Jacob and Evie Fry, that's who's in it.
Yeah, great, awesome. I didn't know they moved from Assassin's Creed to Dishonored. That's awesome.
Well, they figured no Assassin's Creed this year. We'll just use their characters elsewhere.
That's
no big deal.
true.
Yeah. Hey, I know you didn't list it here, but just real quick. Between now and August, though, there's a few other games that are coming out that we haven't really talked about. One that's coming out this Tuesday is Inside from Playdead, the makers of Limbo. And I know that Limbo is either loved or completely thrown aside, depending on who you are. I think Limbo was a solid game. I
think it got a lot of praise.
Well, I mean, like, in talking to people, I'm saying either people loved it or they thought, no, this game's no good. The platforming's awful. And I can't disagree with that. The platforming was not amazing, but the puzzles were creative. The aesthetic was absolutely amazing. And the unspoken story was pretty moving. So I thought it was very good. But what I've heard, and this is a few of the preview articles that I've read and I've heard on a few podcasts, is that Inside does for this game what some other big sequels, like think of like a Grand Theft Auto Vice City, how that opened up what was done in GTA 3.
Or
Think about what Vice City
Creed
did.
2 to
Or Assassin's Creed 2, exactly. Yeah, I've heard that Inside is a way of opening up that very familiar type of feeling, an atmosphere that's created in Limbo, and really making a full-fledged game out of it. So I'm excited for Inside. That comes out this week. And then, of course, we have No Man's Sky and Deus Ex, which I'm told I should be excited about. But there are some games coming out this summer that we should be excited about.
There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. I mean, because of my excitement over Tokyo Mirage, I'm on the fence on whether to get Star Ocean. Really wanted to play that. I found out the main story campaign for a JRPG is only around 20 hours. So if that's true, that's very appealing for me.
Yeah.
There's also Technomancer. I know that's probably not going to review that well, but it's by a developer, Spider, that I personally like their stuff. I know what I'm going to get from them. They're a small developer that tries to make AAA games.
And don't forget 7th Dragon 3 Code VFD.
Oh, jeez. I'm not buying it just for the name. But yeah, so there's a few games coming out on Tuesday that potentially I could be buying and trying to play, but right now I'm going to hopefully hold off. And Grand Kingdom, the demo was amazing. The digital version's already out. The physical copy comes out Tuesday as well. So lots of great games this summer. I Am Setsuna is
there's
one that
another
I'm
one
really
we've
looking
covered
forward to.
on our show that I'm curious about. It's Song of the Deep. It's the one being published by GameStop.
Yeah.
The reason I'm curious about it, not only are they saying it's a Metroidvania style, but I'm curious to see what kind of quality GameStop publishing is going to generate. And it's also developed by Insomniac.
I was going to say, it's Insomniac, right? So to me it sounds like GameStop's just like, hey, we'll give you a bunch of money, so you can only sell your game with us.
So that could be a good July game to fill in the gap before the big hitters come out in August and September. And you mentioned I Am Setsuna. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Basically, if you like JRPGs, this summer is for you.
All right, let's get to the good stuff. Let's talk about the 7th generation of video game consoles. And we've done this a few times already before. I think we started on the 4th or the 5th was when it really got interesting. I can't remember which one of those it was.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought we've had some good reviews of these, and it's interesting to hear how your experience went with each of these systems. And so we want to do the same thing with the PS3, the Xbox 360, and I think it's the best-selling console of all time, isn't it? The Nintendo Wii?
I think so. I think the PS3 keeps, getting closer to it, but it's still the Wii.
You mean the PS4?
No, the PS3.
Oh, the PS3's closer to. I thought the PS2 was closer.
Maybe that's what it is. PS2.
Well, what we want to do is we want to cover not only our own experience with each one, like not only did we own them, but what was our experience like getting them, what kind of games jumped out at us, and just how we think they compare back then and how they compare now, looking back on each of these systems. So, the first one to hit the market, the first system of these three to hit the market, was the Xbox 360. Microsoft decided 4 years was enough for the original Xbox, and we need to get this 360 out in the market, which, by the way, I know we talked about Scorpio last time around. That's the same time difference we're looking at for next fall, from the 1 to whatever Scorpio is, just as a side note. But anyway, the 360 dropped in November of 2005 in North America, in December of that year for both Europe and
it was
Japan.
kind of the same situation, though. I know, and
we're
not going to get... Well, no... I'm not going to get in debate whether Scorpio is a generational move or not, because I'm one of those that believes that while Microsoft is saying, or Xbox is saying, well, everything's connected, I still think within a year or so of Scorpio being released, it's going to get to the point where they have so many exclusives to the console that it will be seen as a generational move. But that's beside the point. The point I was trying to make is...
This one was a clear next generation.
Yeah, and I think
right.
the reason why Microsoft did it is the same reason why the Scorpio exists right now. First of all, the Scorpio would not exist if Microsoft was either A, outselling the PS4, or even somewhat close.
Okay.
The reason this exists is the same reason they jumped from the Xbox to the 360, and that is, while the Xbox was successful, go ahead and take a look at the Xbox and PS2 numbers. They're not even close. PS2 destroyed everybody.
It did.
So that's the same thing. I think Microsoft, maybe they did go back and look, and they said, look, we only gave our original Xbox 4 years because we got destroyed. We're still good. That was our first system. We did a good job. And then we released this 360 that was above the PS2, was above anything Nintendo or anybody else was doing. And it sold awesome, especially in the beginning.
It did. It was really demolishing the PS3 and Wii, and they hadn't even come out yet. We hadn't even heard about those two yet, and or at least the details. And the 360 dropped, and my goodness, was it popular, and for good reason. And I did not get the 360 the year that it came out. I actually waited until the beginning of 2007, and I'll share about that in just a minute, to get my 360. When did you get on the Xbox 360 train? Was that a day one for you?
Well, that was the story I shared a long time ago on this podcast, so I won't share the whole thing where I was trying to buy it the night it came out. But I couldn't, so I ended up ordering it off eBay. Now, if it says it came out in North America November 22nd, 2005, I don't remember exactly when I got it, but I'm sure it was probably around either Christmas or maybe in January of 2006. But I bought it off eBay.
Yeah.
And I paid a good price because you couldn't find the Xbox 360 anywhere. So I paid way more than what it released at, just so I could have it.
Yeah, so the 360 released, I think, at $299, at least the core unit. Okay, yeah, and then they had a $399 version with the 20 gig. Listen to that.
Yeah, the core
20
was
gig,
dumb.
The 20 gig hard drive. That is crazy. And then I don't think this was at launch, but they did have the Elite version that came out with a 120 gig hard drive. That was $480. That was $470.
Yeah, that came out later. Yeah.
That was later on. So anyway, it came out at $300 compared to, and this was just an infamous bad decision by Sony. They released the PS3 with a 20 gig hard drive at $499, so $500 for their base unit, and then they also had a $599, a $600 upgraded to 60 gig unit. And that was shocking. Those numbers were shocking. And I remember what was said, although I don't remember who said it, about get a second job to get this if you need to. And it's meant kind of in a jokey way. Like, hey, this is expensive tech. It's worth the money you'll spend on it. So get the money however you can. I think that was the gist of it. But man, did it come off bad. And it really hurt Sony. In the long run, they ended up catching up in a lot of ways. I think they might have even surpassed the 360 in sales. But for those years that this was the main generation, 360 was trouncing them. They were just trouncing them in terms of consoles sold as well as in third-party support. So.
The pricing and the messaging was a lot like what the PS4 is doing now for the 360.
The one, right,
yeah.
Right.
Whereas
the difference is Microsoft recovered a lot more quickly than Sony did. I remember Sony, the PS3, really struggled for a while. Not just right out of the gate, kind of like the Xbox One struggled out of the gate, but then turns out the sales numbers have been really great. Just the PS4s have been astronomical.
Yeah, but I don't think, and I could be wrong, but I just don't think Sony made a quick change. Whereas Microsoft saw they'd screwed
Don
up.
Patrick was out and Phil Spencer was in, and things got better real fast.
Yeah, and then they changed the whole, Kinect. You don't have to have a Kinect, whereas before their messaging was you have to have a Kinect. That's why they had. You look at the PS3 pricing. You have a $500 system, which I believe that one was almost impossible to find because most people, again, a lot of people didn't download games back then, so 20 gigs was actually decent. So I think the 500 was really hard to find. The only one that I think I found when I actually bought mine was the $600 one.
Oh, man.
And that was the one that I bought at Best Buy with my 10% off coupon, so I got it for $540.
I mean, you're venturing into PC territory with those kind of prices. I realize that's not a great PC, but you're venturing into that territory of lower-end gaming PCs. Of course, you need to get higher than that to get good quality, but my goodness, that was pricey. And then during that same month, so that was a year later, November of 2006 is when the PS3 dropped at that astronomical price. And the 360 was still cruising along. And the Nintendo came out with the budget option also in November. It was 2 days after the PS3 came out with their game-changing Nintendo Wii system to follow up the GameCube.
And this one was impossible to find.
It was impossible to find. Yep, it came out at $249, and it included Wii Sports, which was a brilliant pack-in because I can't imagine that it was an incredibly expensive game to make because obviously the visuals on it, even at that time, were not great. But the way it kind of gave you a nice tech demo of what the motion controls could do and gave you some fun multiplayer opportunities with Wii Sports, it was all you needed. So people would grab a Wii, they'd have Wii Sports, they might have grabbed another game, maybe Mario Kart down the line when that came out, but for the most part, that's all they needed. And the Wii sold like crazy. And I remember someone from Microsoft at some point during the generation, it might have been that next summer, basically said, hey, listen, buy our console for the hardcore games, buy a Nintendo Wii, for your family and the kids' games, and you'll have everything you need. It was his way of saying, forget about Sony. You don't need them. You just need us and Nintendo. And then of course Nintendo's response to that was something to the effect of, no, just buy Nintendo. But I do remember that was a pretty popular opinion of people back then was just get the Wii 60. Just get your Xbox and your Wii and forget about the PS3. So, and that's the route that I went. So in early 2007, the Wii had been out for 3 months or so. And I hadn't necessarily planned on upgrading. I was really happy with my PS2. I was still working through a backlog of some of those games. I was even replaying some PS1 games that were still compatible. And I had already purchased a Nintendo DS, which we'll get to later. But then I was at Target. It was one of those moments I had not planned on this at all. It was a Sunday. It was a Sunday afternoon. And my family was back at home. And I was at Target. And like I always do when I'm at these kind of stores, I just happened to wander over to the electronics section to see what was there. And as I glanced down, in the case, there was one Nintendo Wii sitting there, with Wii Sports included, even though they had all sorts of signs everywhere saying, take a rain check or whatever for a Nintendo Wii. You couldn't find it anywhere, but there was one sitting there on the shelf. And so that's when I pulled the trigger and bought the Wii. The reason I bought it, there's a few reasons. One, I didn't have a GameCube. I never did own a GameCube, and this was going to be backwards compatible with all GameCube games. So that was cool. I was excited for that. And I had read up a ton on the Virtual Console, which I think was a pretty big game changer in terms of downloading the classics, which is now is pretty commonplace for all systems. And I loved that idea. Like, really? Nintendo games? Super Nintendo games? And eventually going to introduce N64 games? They seriously were speaking right to me, I swear, because it was everything I wanted to hear about a system. So the Wii was great, and it lasted me, and we still have it now. It's the same Wii that I bought in 2007. It's still running for my kids upstairs.
Wow.
But it was something that I was interested in and kept my attention and kept churning out decent games for me all the way up until probably 3 years ago maybe is when I really stopped playing it. So it is a great system, and I do not regret that purchase at all. And only a few months after that, I ended up selling a ton of my old video game stuff, including my PS2 and all those games and old Guitar Hero equipment, all sorts of stuff, and that's what I put for my Xbox 360. So I followed that advice, the Wii 60 advice, and I own an Xbox 360, I own a Nintendo Wii, and I was perfectly happy to skip out on whatever Sony was offering at that point. So that was my experience with buying those consoles.
So you never got a PS3?
Never owned a PS3. Now, we'll talk about games for these systems here in a little bit. And the PS3 games that I've been able to experience, the exclusives for that system, have only been through PS4 remasters that have come out over the last couple years. So if they haven't been remastered, or maybe I tried PS Now for like that free trial month. I tried a few games then. Otherwise, I've never played the PS3 games. So I played God of War 3. I played through all the Uncharted's. Well, I don't know. I'd never played the infamous 1 or 2 games because, those were exclusive there. What else was on there that I'm missing? I did play Little Big Planet at my brother's house. He and my nephew play that, so I played that a good amount. Can't think of anything else.
Heavy Rain was big, infamous, Killzone.
Oh, wait. I feel like I did play Killzone.
Metal Gear Solid 4.
Wasn't Killzone on PS2?
The first one, but I'm talking Killzone 2 and 3.
I don't know why I thought 2 was on the PS2 as well. But anyway, I definitely played Killzone on the PS2. That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of...
I missed some,
great
but
games.
I still don't feel like I missed a ton. I know I missed some, but because of the remasters, I now don't really feel like I missed a ton by skipping that system.
No, and here's where I'll take this conversation now. I owned all three. I got kind of like you with the Wii. I got it as soon as I could. You know, it was another one where I was like, I had to wait for it to actually show up, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, done. You know, and 360.
It wasn't too expensive compared to the other ones either.
Yeah, the 360 is the only one that I went. Okay, I was done with the PS3 as well, but with the 360, I didn't even wait for it to get in the store. I was like, I gotta have this now.
I can't believe you bought that on eBay. That's crazy.
Yeah, and I played a good amount. I don't know the exact amount, but I know it was way more than 400. So, basically, I think this generation, I'm always gonna, and I said this before, I'm always gonna like the generation we're in now more than anything in the past, because I'm just the type of guy that likes the bigger and better and badder looking things. Like, it is hard for me personally to go back to older games and really appreciate them, even if I love them to death, because I can pick them apart and be like, oh, I like this was ugly, blah blah blah. But this generation, the 360, the PS3, and the Wii, was probably the generation that really got me into video games. Like, I enjoyed my Xbox, my PS2, and that was where I started building my collection. I remember I used to, because I collected cards, so I treated video games like my cards. Like, I would go and, like, stare at my cases and count them and all that type of stuff. So that was started with the PS2 and all that. But this generation is where I went and I was, like, fully aware of everything that was big. And this is where,
That's
to
cool.
me, where video gaming became more mainstream. Don't get me wrong, the PS2 and all that sold well, but I'm talking like where parents were more aware, especially
what do you
with the
contribute
Wii.
that to then? Yeah, the Wii.
The Wii.
Yeah.
You know, people like to insult the Wii and say it's an anomaly. Yeah, maybe you're right, but it did its job.
It
And
was
what
an
it
anomaly,
did,
sure, but that's because no one else had done it, and no one else can
Exactly.
reproduce it. Nintendo, you can't deny it. They had a brilliant stroke of luck / genius with the Wii. They really did.
If you're gonna insult them on the Wii U, you got to give them credit for the Wii.
Absolutely.
And that's how I see it. They were
Yeah.
geniuses in what they did. They even got me as a gamer who played previous generations to say, I have to have, you know, that Wii. And I wasn't a Nintendo fanboy. I
Well,
was
it's
more
interesting
at
to talk
that time
about-
into Xbox.
It's interesting you talk about this one really getting you into gaming in a deeper way. And for me, I feel like it kept me in gaming in that way that I was already really deeply entangled in it, basically. And PS2 was the era that did that, I think, the most, possibly. Maybe PS1, PS2 combined.
Mm-hmm.
But this was a time of life when my wife and I had just had our first son. Our first baby had arrived, and life had changed dramatically. This was the time when we adopted our second son. And during this generation, at least right towards the end of it, is when we had twins. And so I went from 0 kids to 4 kids during this 7th generation of gaming. And my life was definitely changing. And I was trying to grow up and accept more responsibility and, you know, still pursuing some of my other hobbies. Like I love to record music, for example, things like that, and trying to balance family life and work and then these video games. And these systems, the Xbox 360 and Wii in particular, they kept me engaged with gaming during the busiest time of life, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't say that they got me more into gaming than I was already, but they certainly kept me hooked. This would have been the time of life where gaming would have died away for me a little bit. If there was going to be a time, this would have been it. And certainly I've taken breaks, and some of them even long months, close to a year at a time. I've really backed away from gaming a lot. That's happened before. But never have I completely stepped back, and I think this generation, as I was making that shift from kind of college, newlywed life into a full-blown, I'm a dad and full-grown adult now type of life, these systems kept me engaged in gaming. And I attribute a lot of that to probably more the 360 than the Wii. The Wii was great, and it provided some great experiences for my wife and I to play together, both in like we played through all the old Donkey Kong Country games, we played Mario World, we played a bunch of old games, and then we played some of the new stuff. We played new Super Mario Brothers. We played a whole bunch of board game versions that came out on the Wii. They had tons of family-friendly board games on the Wii, Monopoly, stuff like that. That stuff kept us engaged on a casual level, and then I was deeply entrenched in the 360 with the hardcore games that were dropping. So we'll talk about those in just a minute. So it's interesting that you say that it dug you in deeper, and for me, I'm just surprised that I didn't kind of hop out of gaming at this phase of life. This really kept me going. So
Yeah.
and speaking of games themselves, let's talk about some of the top, not only top selling games, but our personal top games. So let me give you the top selling games for each system real quick, and while you think about some of your favorites. So for the Xbox 360, this will probably come as no surprise. The top selling game. Oh, I scrolled past it. Are you looking at it? I just scrolled past it. Where did it go? There it is. Connected Ventures. Connected Ventures was a pack-in with the
I was going to
Kinect.
say, that was because it was packed.
And so they count that, but it's got a little asterisk beside it. So the best-selling non-bundled game was at the very end of the life cycle, and that was Grand Theft Auto 5. That was the best-selling game for the Xbox 360. And for the PS3, also Grand Theft Auto 5. But it sold a little bit more on the PS3, which should give you some indication how the tide was turning back in Sony's favor there at the end of that life cycle. So
Yeah.
GTA 5 just sold bananas. It really did, across all platforms. And then when they re-released it on new consoles and on PC, it only sold more. Just craziness. What
How
GTA 5
How did GTA 5 do on the Wii?
Oh, GTA 5 on the Wii did great.
Yeah. Those motion
just like
controls were awesome.
It couldn't handle it. It was so bad at trying to handle that game. It was just a single screenshot. That was GTA 5 Wii experience. Was just a screenshot. But the number. It's funny that we look at these numbers. Connected Ventures at 24 million copies because of the Kinect. GTA 5 across the 360 and PS3 sold looks like 32 million if those numbers are still accurate. That's a lot. And that's combined for GTA 5. Wii Sports, the number one selling game for the Wii, sold 82.5 million. And then, I know that was a pack-in game, but it wasn't in Japan. That's insane. But then, so you're thinking, all right, well, that's not fair because everyone bought a Wii and it came in packed in. All right, well, the best-selling non-bundled game was Mario Kart Wii. That sold 35.5 million. It outsold GTA 5's combined sales on the 360 and PS3. That's insane. That's totally insane.
Yep.
So, again, we talk about we can mock Nintendo, and we certainly do from time to time. All we want about the Wii U, maybe even about the Wii, how it was this kind of underpowered kid brother of the other two systems. But the reality is, Nintendo was the one. They were the ones laughing. They were the ones who were laughing all the way to the bank with all the money they made with that system. So, all right. So enough about what sold the most. What was actually the best? So give me some of your favorite. Let's start with the Wii. Give me some of your favorite Wii games. Not really in any order. Just start naming off some of your favorites.
All right. Xenoblade Chronicles definitely comes to mind right away. Mario Kart was one of my favorites. I'm not gonna say Super Mario Galaxy because I just didn't get into those. I bought both of them and I played them for
crazy.
like 30 seconds, and I was like, I cannot stand these stupid motion controls. And then
What? You had to shake the remote. That was it. Otherwise, it was
like
regular
it.
controls. Oh, jeez.
No, you had to like shake it on some of the moves. It was stupid.
It was amazing.
And then you had to use the pointer and then shake to get through like stars.
You could use a second player to aim at the stars. You
No,
don't have to worry about that.
Tim, really? Second player? You gonna come over my house and lift the controller for me?
No.
No, it was trash. So no, I didn't like that.
Whoa, hang on.
I really
hit the
didn't
pause.
play it. I didn't really play them that
You
much.
just called the Mario Galaxy games trash. They are masterpiece
I
games.
mean, obviously, I appreciate that you and I know Crank Flark's gonna, if he listens to this show, which I expect he will, he's gonna hashtag and kill me on that. But honestly, I'm being not even trying to be cool. I know people love it. I love all Mario games. So while it's not trash as far as on a gameplay standpoint, it's fine. But as far as like controls and stuff like that, I hated it. It was trash to me to the point where I played like maybe a few levels, and I was like, I don't care.
Oh
And then
my
Mario
goodness.
Galaxy 2 came out, and because I'm just like
It's
a
even
dumb
better.
fan, I was like, oh, let's buy it. And I started playing it, and I was like, no, I just don't like this. This is stupid. Twilight Princess I bought when I got the Wii.
And now you're playing it on the Wii U.
Yeah, because I never finished it. I liked it on the Wii, from what I can remember, but I can't think that I got that far, because I'm like 7 hours into the high def remaster, and I know I'm getting close to where I left off. So I probably got maybe 12 hours into it.
Okay.
10, 12 hours. And I can't think of anything else. Oh, Donkey Kong Return was good.
Yeah, Donkey Kong Country's Returns was great, if not insanely hard. I think it was tougher than the originals.
But I just didn't play a lot of games on the Wii. Like, I loved Wii Sports. That was the main reason I bought it. Mario Kart was a great game.
Do you ever play some of the smaller stuff like Boom Blocks or
friends.
Zack and Wiki or Boom Blocks or Mad World? Do you ever play some of those games?
Played a little bit of Mad World. I didn't like that.
The art style was cool, but didn't play. It wasn't all that fun to play.
No. So, no, there wasn't a lot of games on the Wii that I liked.
I thought Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 probably two of the best games of that generation for sure. Might have been the best games on the Wii system itself.
I mean,
Absolutely
it's not no Mario Splash.
Oh, it's
or
so much
whatever.
so much better than Sunshine.
Yeah, Sunshine.
Also, Donkey Kong Country Returns, Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn, which I've talked about before, was a great entry to that series. Of course, Twilight Princess. I didn't love the motion controls, but they didn't kill the experience for me. I still liked that game. I thought that the Wii version of Punch-Out was a lot of fun. I loved the visuals. It was a lot of fun to play. It still had that nice, sharp response when you turn the controller sideways and just played old school style. Loved it. And then there was a simulation, a city building game based on the Anno, I think it used to be called Anno, was it 1600? I forget. The Anno series, the city building series, and they had a Wii version called Dawn of Discovery. So it was kind of a dumbed down version of it, but it still had some really fun city building stuff you could do, and some battle stuff too. Kind of RTS style, but not that in depth. But Dawn of Discovery was good. Let's keep going. I actually I gotta go get my daughter in bed here in a little bit. So for the sake of time, let's keep on moving here to the Xbox 360. Give me some of your favorite Xbox 360 games. Now I know some of these are going to be third party, but yeah, what are some of your favorites?
Two of the games that came out in that generation are probably top 3 for me, and that's BioShock Infinite and The Last of Us for the PS3. So I would say BioShock Infinite is definitely an Xbox 360 game. That's where I played it. The original BioShock was phenomenal. Mass Effect, we really could just lump them all in. Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 3.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many games. The Batman games,
Batman,
the Assassin's
Arkham
Creed series.
Asylum in particular, yeah.
Assassin's Creed started on the 360.
Yep.
So there's a lot of games. I think out of this generation, there's just so many games to list. I preferred my 360, but what made me love the PS3 so much, ended up loving it more towards the end of the generation, was that part of Sony's turnaround was they went to exclusive titles. And they started throwing them out left and right, and that's where we got like The Last of Us, and then you had your Uncharted franchise, and you had Killzone 2 and 3 come out that to me were better than Killzone, which Killzone wasn't a bad game. I just preferred 2 and 3. And then you had I'm forgetting the name, the Insomniac shooter. It had its trilogy.
Oh, Resistance?
I really like that. God of War came out. God of War 1, 2, So it was a loaded system by the time
Well, 1
you
and
got
2
to
were
the end
already
of it.
out on the PS2. And
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And
it's
then
God
of
of War
course,
3.
Yeah, God of War 3, which I only recently played through, and I must admit, what a game that is. That's a great one.
And then Ascension came out as well towards the end. So
don't forget about things, and you just went through some PS3 ones, which saves me some time because I don't have any to add, except for the remasters I've played, Uncharted and Last of Us.
Mm-hmm.
You just meant God of War 3. So there are some absolute classics from the PS3. But for me, the 360 is where it was at. We're talking about Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare. The place to play that was the 360, and that changed online shooters as we know them. And the remake or the remaster, whichever it is, coming out this year is going to be interesting to see how that does.
See,
Games
for
like-
me, I wasn't into Call of Duty. I know my friends kept trying
I
to
wasn't
get me in
either
it.
until that.
I was into well, not even in that one, because I bought it and played a little bit online, and my friend Chris and cousin Daniel and all them got addicted to it. But what I was into was the Rainbow Six Vegas game.
Okay, all right. Those are good too.
Yeah. So
That's one
and
I
that's
didn't put
where
on
I
my list, but
experienced
that was a
Fallout
great one.
3.
Yeah. Don't forget
Vegas.
Crackdown.
Yeah. So the point is this generation was loaded.
Red Dead Redemption.
And it goes back to what I was saying. While the PS2 and all of them experienced huge successes in sales, I still think this generation was the generation where games and development and publishers really blew up. And now you're seeing it in the current gen that we're in. We're talking about summertime. You and I just talked about it earlier, summertime. And that used to be, and I'm not exaggerating, dead.
Oh,
You
yeah.
would go through June, July, and most
yeah.
of August
It was a desert.
with nothing to play. You might get like these little dumb titles. Like Xbox started doing their like summer of arcade because
Which
they
was
knew
cool.
it was cool because they didn't have anything to release. Now you go through the summer, and while it's not as busy as your fall and your early year, it's still packed
Yeah,
with games that would
it is.
normally be fall releases or early 2017 releases are now coming out in the summer. So this generation, the 360, the PS3, and the Wii is the one I look at that really blew up the media. That put it in a place where it was like, we're just as big, if not bigger, than movies and
Absolutely.
books and CDs. We are mainstream. We are what people want, and it's been a good thing because obviously look at what the PS4 and the Xbox One, and to a certain extent the Wii U still has a good catalog. It just kind of failed on its own. We'll talk about that later.
What would be one of the most unappreciated or underappreciated games from this generation, if you had to think of one off the top of your head? What would be a game or a couple games that are not as appreciated as they should be?
Well, apparently Death Row wasn't appreciated because we didn't get a sequel. Should have been a Xbox 360 version of Death Row.
I was thinking something more along the line of Enslaved. But yeah, no, you can go with Death Row if you want to.
I'm just
Again.
bitter. Yeah, it's always Death Row.
There was do you remember the series Red Faction? Red Faction 1 and 2 were kind of
Yeah, I didn't play
okay.
those. I didn't
But
care.
the third one in that series, Red Faction Guerrilla, came out for the 360, and I remember renting it from GameFly. And it's an open world game set on Mars, and you can go around and destroy literally everything. You've got this giant, like, mega sledgehammer you can use, and then an assortment of weapons, almost Ratchet and Clank style weapons. And Red Faction Guerrilla was definitely underappreciated. And so was Enslaved, Odyssey to the West. I would encourage you guys to try out both those games if you get a chance. I think they still hold up, at least in terms of gameplay. And then, of course, one of the great games from that generation was Portal 2. Hilarious game. Stephen Merchant does the voice of Wheatley, and the puzzles are genius. It's really, really great. So.
I think Lost Odyssey was a great RPG on the 360 that didn't get much attention.
It was a good-looking game, too.
Yeah. It had
was.
that Final Fantasy feel on the 360, which was extremely rare to get like a really, really good JRPG on a Microsoft console.
Yep.
So, but anyway, it's a good generation. I would say overall, towards the end, I would say I preferred the PS3's catalog, but I always preferred the 360 over all three of them. Or, if you were to compare all three. Anytime I bought third-party games, which, again, I bought a lot of them, I always went to the 360. The only thing I bought on the PS3 and the Wii were exclusives. I never bought third-party on those consoles. So.
Well, I want to hear what you, the community, think. You've heard us talk about what we think about the 360, the PS3, the Nintendo Wii, and I want to hear what you think. So, in the comments on this post in our Facebook group, Fathers of the Grind, head on over there, and let us know what you think. What were your favorite games from this generation? What games were underappreciated? I'm sure there's someone in our group who know of a game or two that maybe we've never even heard of. So give us some recommendations there. Also, give us your thoughts on which console was best at the time, and looking back now, which one stands as the best. And give us whatever reasoning it is. Maybe it's because it's, the PS3 really overtook the 360 by the end of the generation. But maybe the 360, looking back on it, was still the better machine. Or maybe the Wii was because of its innovation and its it was so inclusive of every type of gamer, even non-gamers. So which system do you think was the best?
I think the PlayStation 3 and the Wii kind of like flip-flop. Like the Wii started like so strong. Everybody loved it.
It was on the news.
Yeah. PS3 was hated, and by the end of the generation, sales were flying up because, like we talked about earlier, it was getting tons and tons of exclusives and new franchises, where the Wii was getting nothing. Wii was kind of starting into the Wii U, where people were getting a sour taste in their mouth for Nintendo because they didn't feel like they were getting anything out of it. Like they got that initial cool experience, but after that it was like, what else can you offer me? And they couldn't offer anything. So while the 360 remained consistent,
that's right,
the entire time.
That's right. And it was quite the leap from those PS2 and Xbox and GameCube games to this gen of games. We didn't even mention this, but the graphics, the music. I mean, even on the Wii, the music, for example, in Galaxy was absolutely amazing. So the things they were able to put on those discs in those games were...
If we sat down and talked about everything about these generations, because we skipped around because I didn't want us to stay on it for an hour and a half, we could literally talk about this for 3 or 4 hours because there's just so much to talk about.
We'll tell you what. We'll stop here in a minute, but then we'll keep recording and we'll send our good friend Frank the extended edition of the episode. Let's do that. He would love it.
Well, yeah, he hates when we cut it short. He's like pumping his fist, going, more.
Well, the show is called Fathers of the Grind, so not only are we, of course, major nerds, we love video games, we both do have families as well, so I've got to get going. I've got family duties to tend to, but thank you again, Derek, for taking time to talk this week, and guys, please, if you have time, share the show, keep the chats going in the Facebook group. Also, congrats to Jose for winning the drawing for Paragon. Derek's not bitter at all.
No.
And yeah, thanks again for listening. You guys have a great week.
Night.
Who is your daddy? I am the father.
You fathers will understand.
My father taught me many things.
I got an idea. How about you all sit there quietly while I make dad noises?